started out as a group that met in someone's home or various homes, a small group, and it just grew. And so before we got here, they had met in several locations. I think what is now Alaska Pacific University, they met there, they met in another church. When we got here, they were meeting in Baxter School.
So we came and visited the church and we liked it, and we were new Christians at the time. And so we've just been there for almost 40 years now. So.
Well, it was exciting. Once we had the property and the building was underway, it was exciting because we weren't going to have to be nomads anymore. We had gone from one school to another, and doctor's offices, and you name it, we were meeting, and this was going to be ours, and we could leave our stuff there.
And we were planned to build a church. That was the thing, but we wanted first to get the land. The Lord provided a great place of a man that had this land, and he paid so much, and he gifted some of the land to us.
And somebody knew about this property, which is just up the road on Baxter, and everybody kind of chipped in a certain amount, kind of like a bond sale thing or something, you know. They actually paid interest. We were able to buy the property. That's the way we bought it. So, and then we took whatever else we had available financially and a mortgage and built the building. And it was really nice to move into a place that was all your own. You know, we had stuff. Some of our stuff was all stored in people's homes, and
we built the church, and we did a lot of work ourselves. I remember little up and down, my boy said, "Why can't we have a church? We take the papers down when we're at the school on Sunday." And I said, "The Lord is going to give us a paper." And I says, "You're going to help build it." Made him very happy. We had an architect that drawed up the plan there, so it was a very exciting time to build a church.
Well, the church was struggling, and the thing that amazed me is the other church that he was from. Our church liked him, and so the other church paid his salary for a year, and so that he could minister at our church, and that always impressed me. You know, that they were so giving and loving to do that, and
it was good to have Bob come. We had just gone through a horrendous tragedy, and it was a divorce, and now we were brought back together. And Bob looked at the few of us and he loved us. A wandering type group that didn't have a solid base at all, and in fact angry people, and it was good.
Then Bob came in to fill in, which, I just love that example of Parkside coming alongside our church. That was, for me, those things that happened, it's like being part of a family. It's like your parents got a divorce, and the kids are sitting there, and you're like, what happened, and what's going on? And, there was a lot of that for us. For those that remained, I think there was lots of confusion, and, but we didn't know what else to do, so we stayed, And then Parkside came along and said, yes, we'll loan you Bob. And, Bob comes, and he's just faithful, to come every Sunday, and Barbara comes, and, then pretty soon we were like, well, hey, wonder if he wants to be the full-time pastor. He said yes, and it's just his faithfulness over the years to be here, to have a vision, to be faithful to the vision. And, it's like, here we are, 16 years later.
When Bob came, it was kind of a low point. Like I said, we had been kind of trending down, and we were wondering if we were going to make it because the previous pastor had just resigned, and so what are we going to do? Man, I was pretty anxious about it. But the Bible says, don't be anxious.
His leadership kind of blossomed right away in our midst because he took a hold of things and said, this is the way it's going to be, and it flew. And it was good. It was comforting. He was truly a shepherd.
We appreciated Bob and Barb and their ministry, and I always have thought of Bob over the years as being the stability in our church, and a good leader. And Barb was always so friendly and warm and fun. She was just a lot of fun. I think of women's retreats, and we used to have the women's group that I was a part of for a while, and we had a retreat down at Bob and Barb's cabin in Seward, and that was a lot of fun just to be with Barb and her friendship and warmth and her good ideas, and she's just loving to everybody.
When Bob came, he is so focused on living his life for the Lord, being blessed, that we receive blessing through him in our midst. And that's exciting. As you look back on it, you don't realize at the time where you're headed and how things are going, but wow.
One thing I've always appreciated about Bob is that his sermons were never too complicated. They were never something that was not understandable or not applicable for all ages. I never felt like I had to go to Sunday school in order to learn about God or learn about, what happened biblically. His sermons were always something that were simple enough for everyone to understand and feel like they could apply to their lives.
I remember Bob always giving convicting messages and never sugarcoating what he wanted to say. I do have a fun memory from when a lot of people in the church were asking about, hey Bob, you're getting up there in age, like when you think about retirement. And then he put this really funny comic on, I can't remember what it was for, but it was some newspaper comic on his door. And basically he was like, why retire now? I'm having way too much fun. And that always just really struck me as like, he's not doing this for money or for, he's doing this because he wants to do it and because he enjoys doing it, because he feels called to do it.
Probably the one thing that I appreciate most about Pastor Bob is his, dry sense of humor as well as intentionality. Something I grew to very much appreciate was his prayer at the end of every single service, because I know that he specifically crafted it and he said it over and over again to get the right words for a specific reason. And it's something that became, I think most folks look forward to hearing what Pastor Bob had to say because it was filled with love and intentionality.
I think one specific memory for me when that I have with Bob is when it was just a time after church and he could kind of just tell that I needed to, something was going on in my life, and he had initiated a conversation, and after that just asked to speak with him after the service and just welcomed me into, brought me into his office and sat, we talked through it, and it was just very open and never felt condescending or anything like that. It was just very, just seemed personable and one-on-one and just genuine, and I very much appreciated that.
I've known Bob since the early 90s, back to Parkside, and I remember maybe we went to a counseling session, or I was talking to him one time, and I noticed that on the back of his desk, where he shared with me, that it said, life is not a dress rehearsal. And it really struck me as, okay, you don't practice, so live each day to the fullest and enjoy every moment you have. And I've done a pretty good job of doing that, travel every chance I get. And then when Bob moved over to Baxter Road, we first started attending. We didn't move as soon as he moved, but one of the memories we have when we did move over there is that in the first service, it was at 9 o'clock at that time, counting all the worship team and everybody in the church was 14 people.
I came up here for a summer when I was in Bible school to work with Robert Nelson, and I worked in the youth group at Baxter in 2006, and there were probably only 100 or so, maybe a little more people at the church at that time. And then when I moved back up in 2008, there were probably 150 to 180 people at the church. So, just in 2 years, the church had grown pretty tremendously by growth standards. And then in 2011, when they brought Pastor John Carpenter on and then myself on, the church was at about 250. So in 3 years, another 80 to 100 person jump, which is pretty incredible. And now, in present day, we're sitting at, I think, roughly a little over 400 on average every Sunday. And so when you look at 16 years of Bob leading faithfully through, 17 to 30 members, and really a church that was on life support, and taking that through steady leadership and through faith and through consistency and trusting the Lord, and taking that to over 400 people is a pretty incredible thing. And on one hand, we would say, well, God is really the one that did that growth, and we believe that. But God also used a man named Bob Mather, and it's incredible. And so his leadership, his consistency, his faith, his trust in God, for me as a young leader and as a father and as a husband, is something that's really inspiring and has inspired me and pushed me and challenged me to be a better leader, to be a more faithful leader, to be a better husband, to be a better father.